Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you're well. Um, letting go and letting God, total indifference, total observation, total gratitude. Um, to let go, to surrender, does not mean that you do not play a role, that you just lay down and let some force take over. To let go is to get out of the way, to unburden yourself of the weight, to have the courage to heal your nervous system, and then to do it. And then receive, feel, get to the place where you can feel it all, and then be a witness. Help others that need to unburden their story. A witness is someone that listens without saying anything, just witnessing, just holding space. There's times when someone's sharing something, they're looking for feedback, but there's times when they may not know it, but really they just need to talk and talk and talk. So we all go through this different. I use the earth. I have some rare people in my life that hold space for me in such a unique way that when I go to share the things that I didn't know about are surfaced, um, strong emotion comes out that I didn't know that it was there. And that's how we all are. It's okay. It is embarrassing. It is strange to not know yourself and to have somebody that seemingly knows you better than yourself at times because they can see the emotion that isn't being um, acknowledged. Um, it all hits us really hard when it's our time to leave here, and that's why it's so worth doing now, so that you have your faculties, you have your thoughts in order. You're able to process in a because when you reach a certain age, everything that was held together, it just starts to separate. And so, like, all of a sudden you feel like you're 4 and you're 90 and you just don't even know left from right, and your memories have all mixed up, and you start calling your friends old, but you start saying no, things that just happened 50 years ago, you think they're happening now, and it's because it all mixes. And that's really amazing. That that really reveals what I've been sharing with you, is that all of our memory is available to us all the time. We have a storage unit. We're not cut off from it. It's just that we're distracted. All of our energy goes toward our habits. So if you get clean up your life and you don't have habits and you're just pretty liberated and you only do the things you want to do, not the things that are habitual, you're listening, then you're going to have this incredibly different experience. So unburden your story. Unburden any lies you carry. It's not worth it. People aren't worth what's out there. Don't let somebody, because you don't want to share or face something, just don't let them be the reason why you don't unburden your story, because in order to enter the somersault of thought into the unknown, you have to be free in every sense. No energetic ties. And any journey toward that type of way of being is going to make you feel better and better and better. So I'm not saying you have to become a full-on shaman, but you might as well borrow from all of that path of heart that leads toward knowledge, because it's nothing scarier than being without knowledge. Knowledge is terrifying, but it's even scarier to be without it. And so we're caught between a rock and a hard place, which is how we're going to evolve. So this is a powerful time to release and get to know yourself. So how do we get honest enough to seek out that kind of help intentionally, or to manifest it, on our own? Um, Not that you need to be different than you are. You're already amazing. You've already arrived, and your story is rich. And it's just a matter of your perspective. But once you stop being distracted, you realize, wow, I have a lot of time. I have a lot of time on my hands. And you start to mature. You start to become uninterested in the things that used to be enticing, because your chakra line starts to heal. Your breath work leads to breakthroughs in which you can feel things much stronger than most people, and so you end up wanting to be alone rather than be upholding a reality for other people, because that's kind of what you have to do when you hang out with people that are in the core illusion, is you sort of have to uphold it for them, otherwise you're a threat to them, right? So you sort of do put on a mask in order to interact with the world. It sort of comes natural. um, and we all have an unconscious level of that, especially shamans. We don't know really, like, shamans don't really know how they get through things. They just sort of works out, because then they do implement sort of an unconscious mask, even though they've already done a lot of social mask removal. um, so what I went through is a very difficult stage of not having a mask of any kind and not knowing how to proceed. So I couldn't, going to a grocery store was scary. Trying to get a job, interviewing, like, I had to get random. I had to work for people under the table and do things that weren't through normal systems, because I wasn't stable. I had gone from, not that I was dangerous to myself or others, I was just not grounded at all. I had purposely got ungrounded with psychedelics and shamanic teachers, and didn't know how to get grounded. And I was trying, and the teachers I was turning to were promoting that I get less grounded. So they're trying to get me to go further, and I understand that method now. Thankfully, I found teachers that helped me learn to do the opposite, to become practical and pragmatic, and go back to the basics, and learn how to function in the real, in the illusion, in the real playground. It's where the challenges are. It's learning to be amongst tyrants and not call them out, but have lunch with them and not lose your job, but still make a contribution toward the transformation of the whole thing. Like, there's really cool things that happen, and I was able to assist us, a few companies, in allowing myself to be the target, and then allowing that those tyrants to overstep their role, and then overplay their hand, and then expose themselves. And that's what's happening in the world right now. The tyrants are being called out. They're being tricked. They're being baited. Um, and it's going to get more. It's going to get more intense. It's going to be really cool to watch. It's a really exciting time to be alive. But it's because those tyrants are being exposed like that. They're going to get so upset. They really, really are. A lot of them are like just the middlemen. They don't realize that that they're on their own now. They thought they were protected, and because they have been for so long, and now they're not, and they're just out there in the open, and they're gonna get picked off one at a time. It's gonna be amazing, but it's not because I'm like at odds with people. Freedom is contagious. Courage is contagious. We needed this story line for us to realize how amazing we are. Shamans know how amazing our capacity is, and they pursue it. But we need more people than just the shamans doing that for this system to become holistic and go through a period of evolution instead of de-evolution. Um, so the AI agenda, the singularity agenda, the dystopian dream spell that's been cast upon us is, um, it's very, transhumanism is very um, game over kind of thing. So, not that we can't play that all out and have as much fun with it as possible. Like, um, I will never tolerate any medical tyranny whatsoever for myself or anyone. But that doesn't mean I won't have fun in the process, and I may end up not being able to. Uh, I mean, each one of us is different, and I don't know how this all plays out. It feels like there's going to be a lot of death and a lot of contraction, and so I don't take anything. I don't assume anything. In fact, if anything, I assume I'll disappear any second now. I choose to live that way though, because it makes me feel so alive, knowing and taking it all in all the time, like really feasting my eyes on the details. When Don Juan was leaving the world, before he was talking to Carlos and saying he's going away and not coming back, and he was spending lots of time just walking through like Oaxaca and stuff, just really feasting his eyes on the world, because he was moving to an energetic layer that has physical that has the potential for physicality in these other layers, but this specific layer of things is really different and unique. So he was feasting his eyes on this world and taking it all in and saying goodbye. When you recapitulate, that's what you're doing. You're not just drawing your energy back, you're drawing the energy of the illusion. You're dispelling the whole memory, right? Like breathe in the rocks and the sand and the wind and the whole feeling, and then breathe it out. Let it just it was a dream, a beautiful collective dream in which you were awoken by and directly communicated with by all the forces of our existence. It's to work with the wind and work with the fire and work with the water and work with the ether. In Aikido, we would learn to move in those different flow, in those different feelings. And it was an absolutely same exact technique, but an absolutely different technique when you applied the different elements. So come to know those elements within your being. You don't have you could be in a jail cell and interact with all those elements as a dreamer, right? But in the meantime, to awaken your chakras, go out to the ocean, get into the wind, bundle up so that you can spend some serious time out there until that wind gets to you, or until the fog or the mist, or just watch the birds on the water. Like, let yourself trance out and stay there. Figure out, even if you have to extra bundle up, like, if you, whatever it is for you. I don't bundle up at all. I learn to stay warm when it's not, so that I'm preparing myself. So I'm learning how to breathe and use the fire breath and all that stuff. But I too benefit from bundling up if it's super intense, because then I can stay out there. I'm more likely to stay out there that much longer, because we are human and we do respond to our discomforts. And you do want to listen to your body. Like, when certain people get too cold and they can't turn their heat back on, and then it's like this, their whole nervous system shuts down. So if that's where you're at, that's okay. Don't go trying to be a shaman right now. Bundle up, do whatever you need to do to take care of who you are and where you're at this time. Don't expect to be, you know able to jump in a freezing cold river, um, like the martial art teachers I have, you know, every day. That's one way to be. If and you will build immunity when you're ready and you have that capacity, but you don't want to force that kind of thing until you are ready. Um, our capacity to unburden and move energy. So unburden our load and move energy is pretty much the key to being free. The rest sort of presents itself if we can get our field empty. So even the things you eat are in your field. Everything you do is in your energy field. And your energy field is huge. And so the reason we do shamanic movement is we're going out, grabbing energy, displacing it, putting it somewhere else, you know, mixing it, releasing it, distributing it into different areas. So how you become conscious of your energy field is up to you. But once you do, you'll be able to tell when it's cluttered and when it's empty. When your field is empty, you're going to receive so much incredible feelings all the time. Like my memories are constantly flooding me. Memories I should have no reason to remember, but they're just coming at me all the time. So the emptier the field, the more availability of flow, the more access to knowledge, direct knowing, which leads to the capacity to do long distance healing work or long distance support. Because there is no distance for the dreamer, and yet it's a predicament, right? To be separated by time and space, supposedly, but in reality, that's an illusion too. That's sort of the crown of a shaman's experience, is when they are no longer, they can just go into their living room and go into their dreaming position and shut their eyes and go so far into silence that they end up surfacing thousands of miles away and taking a walk with a friend. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is what we're missing out on. That is what we are. We are completely the pinnacle of creation, the most dynamic feature of this whole system. So of course we could do that. And of course we're being kept from that, so that those that do that or have access to that, or maybe the ones that are jealous of those that have access to that, are making sure that we don't have access to that. So it's a weird little, dance that we're in with. We don't realize this, but there are sorcerers involved in many things. And there are sorcerers that are private and are seeking to to just stay, unknown. Many of the shamanic systems, many of the very knowledgeable ones are not allowing themselves to be discovered. They learned the hard way through generations about this, and they've chosen that. And then there's some that have released their knowledge because they knew that their lineage was Indian, and that's where I was able to learn from Carlos Castaneda's system. Had he not wrote those books and all of that, this world would be in a different place. There's a lot of knowledge that's come out of Carlos Castaneda, a lot of very knowledgeable people, and a lot of them are very private, because they really took to heart what Don Juan was talking about that you want to have a fog around you so that nobody knows if you're coming or going, including yourself, so that you're in such a state of spontaneity. You're liberated. And you're working with the Earth Mother, you're being guided, and you're working with the elements, and you're not afraid to sort of be alone and have these really intense psychedelic experiences that break you open and free you up to be able to interact with the non-linear, the interdimensional. So a lot of you don't know about how much interdimensional availability there is, but there are interdimensional beings that can teach you, and they can scare you. They can't hurt you, but they can make it think that they can. It can read all about it in the inorganic beings and the fire from within in the Toltec in the Carlos Castaneda books, but you wouldn't understand that book at all unless you read all the other books first up into that, the ones that come prior to that book. And even then, I've had to reread those books over and over to have any idea what they're talking about. Um, so it's just a matter of, just don't for a second think that you have to be limited because of the time we're in. The rest of your life is much more expansive. There's much more possibility for you. The sooner your energy field gets empty, the more clarity and imagination and joy and happiness and longing will come into you. Now, the longing's the hard part. The longing's going to make you feel things that are so confronting to your being because you're going to miss your child so much. You're going to want to be in touch with that child, and that's what the shadow work is to heal the inner child. And so the longing to return to that state of pure affection is going to overwhelm you, and you're going to feel melancholy, and it can be too intense for people. It can be suicidal. And so you want to take the tortoise path and walk toward these intense feelings carefully. It's like, it's the most beautiful thing. And so that's why I teach indifference and detachment, because joy is so strong it could take you out. Sadness is so strong it could take you out. But there's no reason to ever take your life, because you're going to die anyways. So, you're going to suffer, and then there's days where you're not going to be, but as long as you don't take your life, you'll be thankful that you didn't. Your contracts are kind of pretty dialed in anyways. You can't exactly take, you could force it, I guess, but I don't know, it's hard to explain. Not that, I'm not claiming to know. I do work with really rare beings that have verified these things, and there's a mysterious nature to things that takes away sort of the me, I'm important, and this is bad, and this is good kind of world. And once that stuff goes away, you can observe things for what they are. But it's quite the effort to get to that level, to the indifference, to the detachment. It's you look at an animal, they have it. They may hide it. Like, it's harder to see with domesticated animals, but the wild ones, it's there. It's an indifference, a detachment. It's a trust, right? It's, if we were to be attached, we would be in so much anger at what's going on. I have anger, but it's stuff that I need. I need that anger. I need access to my power. Sometimes I need that anger in order to successfully and effectively do my job, or just manage my life. I apply my anger if and when needed, or my sadness, or my pain. It's all part of the longing to be whole. It's just a matter of being honest with ourselves, and then being willing to be vulnerable with others, right? It's one thing to be honest with yourself, it's another thing to be vulnerable. That's where the ego dies. That's where the new neural pathways are formed. It's when you show up raw, fully willing to share. You're no longer protecting your little reality. You realize how small your world is, and you want to become expansive, or I don't know what the word is. It's like there's something, when you want in, you will change, and you will move toward an openness that is authentic, that isn't just word salad, where you don't need others to hear your commitment. The commitment becomes total within your being, right? So it's called making a bid for power, and that's what I've done a long time ago. I asked. raised my hand, spoke to the universe with, it wasn't just something I said jokingly. I took the time, I set it up, I made it clear, and then I reinstated that over and over through the course of my life. So I had powerful teachers, but for the most part, reading the Castaneda books and following my heart is what led me to where I am at. Otherwise, I'd still be with those insane shadow teachers who got all lost. I followed my heart, and that's all any of us can do. Don't follow anyone. You can have teachers in your life, and you can be a teacher too, but don't let them don't let anyone put you on a pedestal, and don't let anyone follow you. Help them to reach their inner knowing, their compass, um, and support them in that process. For whatever reason, really unique teachers end up wanting to claim their students, like, well, I taught you, so you're a child of mine, and they say crazy shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, once you realize it's just people are archetypically fall into the cult mold. It's set up perfectly, um, to be a distraction to those that seek knowledge. So it's a real difficult path in that respect, that you're going to get challenged on increased levels. Um, so that's okay though. I mean, I know that we think life's challenging enough, but in reality, it's sort of not. It's like the challenges that we're engaged in are based on the fact that we have a lot of unnecessary habits. When you get rid of those habits, then there's a real challenge that shows up, and it makes you feel real purpose instead of feeling like a slave, or like you're powerless. So we're coming into a time where you being in your power will be more important than whether you have a large bank account or a portfolio, or have all these skill sets, or all these people. It's going to be about whether or not you've done the work, the inner work, the shadow work, the solo work. It's all makes all the difference. And 5 minutes could change your life once you understand how simple it is. We're simply enslaved by the fact that we talk to ourselves. If you learn how to stop talking to yourself, every fucking thing changes entirely. It's more intense than being on psychedelics. All psychedelics does is flood your being with so much intensity that it forces you to look at what's going on, and in that process you stop talking to yourself, and then your perception shifts. It's not the drug at all. Well, the drug floods you with energy that allows you, forces you to change. The goal is to then be so enamored with that process that you seek it out on your own. That's where I come in. So honestly, most people that come to work with me are, they're their perception of it takes time to help them come to terms with the way they projected, or the way they assume, and then eventually we get to kind of what's really going on within their being, and where their longing is, and then it just starts to go from there. So it is a vulnerable thing, you know. I went through all that same vulnerability, so it's a rite of passage. Um, Luckily, I'm not like my teachers, and so you're gonna get something different. I'm a networker, so feel free to reach out to me if you're looking for a specific kind of teacher. I know powerful people. Don't let that limit you. You know, um, doesn't mean you can't do it on your own. I'm not trying to push people to go and learn from others. I would say though that you will be called to learn from others. You're not going to learn this all on your own. And if you think you are, that's okay. but it's just that was the old. That's what was needed in the past. For whatever reason, things are escalating so fast. We're going from 3D to 5D so fast, um, that we're moving back into the community part of it. So that's why I'm doing these videos. That's why I'm moving away from my private life into more of an interactive life, is because we're those of us that individuated in unique ways are being asked to now collectively share what we've discovered. So like it's said that about, the 144,000, each one has individuated out to the extension of their discovery, and now they have a story to share, and that will light up all the 140 as those 144,000 meet each other. It like forms a ring of power. It all started in the center, they branched out in all 144,000 different directions, boom, and then they light up, and it changes the world. That's what we're in this, not that it doesn't matter who those 144,000 are, or doesn't matter if that's the number or not. It's just about, um, what we call the human mass. Yeah. And so there's enough people that are, homogenous. Is that the word? Or, harmonized, basically. When beautiful people sing, when people sing and they reach harmonies, can you imagine 144,000 aware, conscious beings all feeling each other, and then how that ripples out and affects the whole. Like, just I've been to I've been to like I've been to places where that is so powerful, right? And usually though it's not evolutionary powerful. So the reason there's a lot of pressure to make sure that what Carlos Castaneda brought forward and others like him is not discovered, because it would change everything. It will change everything. It may not be because of him directly, but there is coming a point in time where alignment will occur, and we will all see things for what they are. So as we move toward that, we can prepare. And the best way to prepare is to start truly and fully enjoying your existence, right? Because you want to prepare to live a long, beautiful life, but you also want to consider the fact that today might be your last day. And so somehow we want to accommodate both aspects of our being, and that's preparedness. If we stop behaving like we're immortal, then we will actually be in the flow. We will feel our death. Death will be talking to us and telling us what's going on, and we will sense it. Like, something's going on, right? Isn't something going on right now? Like, can you guys feel? It's okay to feel and be vulnerable and feel your death. Know that your time is short here, and make use of it. That's the connection. That's spirit. That's the energy that you seek, is that engagement. Some of you are doing that by healing your relationship with your parents, by healing your relationship with your children, by healing your relationship with the earth. That's beautiful. That's all powerful. These are stages, though. You do want to also continue to expand your perception so that you can receive what's coming. There's a lot of love coming, and it's abstract. It requires that you find your creative imagination in order to handle it, without sort of having to check out. So a lot of you will feel the need to check out as the energy gets more intense if you haven't prepared. That's okay. There will be other stages. But to avoid that discomfort, there's ways to heal your life through letting go of the things that no longer serve you. That's cleaning the island of your tonal to make room for the flood of the nawal, the abstract energy that's pouring in. And that's what I mean by unburdening your story. Sharing potent and beautiful and intense things that happened to you. So Carlos Castaneda was asked to write like memoir of sorts that was specific to the most intense abstract things that occurred to him, that gave him sort of, that sealed his fate, that landed him in the sorcerer's world. And the stories he shared were potent. They were disturbing. They were hard. That's what got him to where he went. His disturbing, difficult, hard stories from his life. They triggered him. Unconsciousness jolts the fuck out of you. That's why I show up to work every day, to see the people that are still just don't know what's, that aren't. It's amazing. I'm not at odds with anyone for not being sensitive, right? The world wouldn't be like, if everyone was sensitive, nothing would get done. So these people are amazing. They work 7 days a week. They just shove insulation, and they're everyone's got a different level of consciousness, and they'll have great a great impact. But yeah, watching CNN and watching things of this nature, we just see these people's lies just get so elaborate. It's really funny and terrifying that people are going along with these lies. And but of course they are, like, it's too confronting. Men have a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that they've been lied to, and women, honestly, most women could care less what's going on. They're interested in other things, like their relationship or their children, or they're more in tune with what's most important. But because of their intuition, it is 90% women waking up and about 10% of the men. And the men have major ego problems that's keeping them from being able to look, and face and feel and want in on the solution. And they want to trust their masters and believe that everything's gonna be okay, and that all their Bitcoin or all their money or whatever is what matters. And it's really, really dense. It's really, really sad, because they're not standing for children. Men need to stand for children. So, hope everyone has a really amazing next few days. I'll check in as soon as I can. Take care.